There are trades in this mock draft, I will say. Not many, however. There's only two.
Yeah.
But starting out with pick number one, Chicago Bears are taking Caleb Williams. At this point, I'm simply waiting for the Chicago Bears to announce that Caleb Williams has signed a deal with the Chicago Bears. A lot of people don't really know this, but if the number one team and the number one overall pick come together, they can sign a contract with each other before the draft. It's frowned
Oh,
upon from the NFL, but you can do it.
Yeah, the only catch is he's not allowed to do any training at the facility until post-draft.
Exactly.
They can do a contract ahead of time, but there's not allowed to bring him in and start teaching him the system early or anything like that.
Yeah, like I would love the Bears to do that, just so that you can have Caleb Williams in the draft room and just be like, okay, so at pick number 9 we have either Joe Alt, Rome Odunze, or Brock Bowers, and just go. So Caleb, here's our draft reports on these three guys. Tell us who you want.
Yeah.
Like that for me, I'm just kind of waiting for that situation to happen. But this is the worst kept secret in the NFL. Caleb Williams is only doing one draft visit, and that's with the Chicago Bears. Everyone knows he's going to Chicago. It is the worst kept secret. At this point, the NFL should just say to Chicago, just sign the fucking guy already, because there's no point. And, most of the reason why the NFL frowns on it, because they go, we want to have that drama with the number one pick of, like, ooh, could they? It's like, no, just do it already. We already know. Like, let's just move on through this process. Washington Commanders.
They're going to get the drama through 2 to 10.
Yes, they will. At pick number 2, I have the Washington Commanders selecting quarterback out of LSU, Jaden Daniels. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to kind of want to go down that more Kyler Murray route, the guy that he kind of had, more of that athletic guy. And I think Jaden Daniels, you want him more there because of that offensive line and the mobility to kind of move around. The only question that I'm going to have there is when he is moving around, can he find some of these open targets? But he has Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson to kind of help him out. Running game is one of those situations you don't really know at the moment, but you're putting him into a good nucleus. Do I think Jaden Daniels is the second best quarterback in this draft? No, I have him as QB4 for me in this particular draft. But I think Washington goes with their current situation. This is the type of player that would be really good for them moving forward. At pick number 3, I have the New England Patriots trading with the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings send the first round pick this year, the 2 first round picks that they have this year, a first round pick next year, and a second round pick next year to go up and select Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina. The Patriots have said they need to be wowed to go move away from a quarterback. I think the Vikings are going to give the godfather of, I'm going to give him an offer he can't refuse. I think the Vikings, they understand that they're not trading with Chicago for Caleb Williams. They're going to offer that to Washington, but they're going to say, no, we're going to take this. And New England's going to go, this is going to be fair. We get 2 first-round picks this year instead of 1. We get a first-round pick next year and a second-round pick next year. We can't say no to that because we can build our team a lot better, and we're setting up our young head coach with a lot of different assets to use. And Drake May is now the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, and unless something changes, he's going to be able to throw to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. That offensive line is pretty good. Yep. He's going to be set up to succeed pretty damn quickly in a division where you're going to have to go up against Caleb Williams, the Chicago Bears, Jordan Love, and the Green Bay Packers, and the Detroit Lions with Ben Johnson still on the team and Jared Goff having their 3rd year. So that division just all of a sudden went to like, oh shit, this is quarterback heaven.
Yep.
At pick number 4, I have the Arizona Cardinals trading with the Las Vegas Raiders. Vegas sends their first and second round this year, and they also send an additional first round pick in next year's draft to go up and select quarterback out of Michigan, J.J. McCarthy. So we have quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Raiders, they are another team that they are set up really, really nicely for a quarterback. They can go out there, get J.J. McCarthy, who we've seen be a game manager at Michigan, throw to Devontae Adams. He can throw to Jacoby Myers. And the beautiful thing about the Raiders is they have Gardner Minshew as a quarterback there, who you know for a fact has started a lot of games and has played well. And if you want JJ to sit for a little bit, are you going to be super satisfied with Gardner Minshew for the entire year? Probably not, but you can have him in there for the first 8 games of the year and say, okay, JJ, you've learned, you've seen the NFL, take the second half. That's a great situation for the Raiders to be in. Pick number 5, the Los Angeles Chargers trade. No, I'm kidding. They select Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. When you lose both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, you know, we've kind of been joking this year at which team has been doing a bigger disservice to their quarterback. Has it been the Chargers or has it been the Bills? And the Chargers kind of go, we're going to do that big disservice, but we're going to immediately give him a generational talent at wide receiver. And, you know, it would be kind of weird to look at Jim Harbaugh and say his first pick as a head coach of the Chargers is a wide receiver from Ohio State, the team that beat him the last 3 years. But he has seen this guy too much to go, we need Justin Herbert to have this quarterback or this wide receiver.
Yeah, that, and he'll be extremely satisfied to see that all of his hyping up of J.J. McCarthy because there's been a lot of talk of that he's trying to hype him up into that 4th pick so that Marvin Harrison Jr. can fall all the way to 5.
And it works. It 100% works. Pick number 6, the New York Giants. They were really hoping that a team did not trade up for JJ, and JJ was there at pick number 6, but he's not. So they look at Daniel Jones and go, fine, we'll give you a goddamn weapon. And they draft Malik Neighbors out of LSU. Malik Neighbors is, to me, he's Jamar Chase. He's Odell Beckham as a young player. You go out there and get Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones sucks. He's terrible. He probably won't do much better even with Malik Neighbors there. But the quarterback that you have after Daniel Jones will have a solidified number 1 weapon right out of the gate. This is a move that I look at. You're setting up your next quarterback for success.
No.
Pick number 7, the Tennessee Titans. I have them selecting Joe Alt. The Titans, their offensive line is bad. You get Will Levis or whoever your quarterback is going to be next year, Joe Alt, who is looking like a generational prospect at the tackle position. You are going to be happy as clams. It's a situation made in heaven.
Yeah, Titans are in a position. It's best player available at the most important position on the field. I know we talk about quarterback as the most important, but really the guy protecting that quarterback on his blind side is equally important. So that's an obvious starting building block for a full-on rebuild for the Titans, which is what they need to do.
You drafted Peter Skoronsky last year, who's your left guard. You add Joe Alt to your left tackle spot. The left side of your offensive line is set, and then you do not have to worry about that for years and years to come. Pick number 8, the Atlanta Falcons select edge rusher Dallas Turner. After bringing in Kirk Cousins, and they traded for the kid from Arizona, I'm forgetting his name. They brought in Darnell Mooney. They already have Drake London. They need to start focusing on their defense. They get athletic edge rusher Dallas Turner to help out their defense. Solid move all around. At pick number 9, the Chicago Bears, they cannot resist. They select Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. You have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Throw Rome into that mix. I'm sorry, secondaries. What are you going to do? Then you also pair Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett from the tight end spot. And then the running backs with Caleb Williams. Yeah, have fun, defenses. Number 10, the New York Jets. They select tackle out of Penn State, Olu Fashanu. They are going to help out Aaron Rodgers as best they can. They know this is their last year in that Aaron Rodgers window, and then they're going to have to look for something else.
Mm-hmm.
But getting a tackle of Fashanu's level is very, very key to this team, because whoever you have at quarterback from years moving forward is going to have a true number one blindside blocker. He's not the same level as Joe Alt, but he is a damn good tackle. Pick number 11, the New England Patriots. After making that trade with the Minnesota Vikings, they select tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia. Now, this is one of those things where we've seen the Patriots be really successful with tight ends in the past, with Gronkowski, and when Aaron Hernandez was still playing and, wasn't doing bad things off the field, that was their MO. Jared Mayo was on the team as a player during that time period, and it worked out quite well. So they look at this and go, for whoever our quarterback is in the future, they're going to have one of the best young tight end weapons in the entire NFL. Denver Broncos at pick number 12. I have them selecting quarterback Bo Nix out of Oregon. This is a reach, but the Broncos, they don't have any other choice.
Yep.
Can you name their starting quarterback right now?
Whoever they draft.
Yeah, because whoever they have currently on their roster, can you name the quarterbacks currently on their roster?
I mean, I know their highest paid quarterback. He's on the Steelers roster.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Sean Payton, as we discussed, he's in a position where he's going to be able to coach up a young quarterback. It's not necessarily going to be the best situation for a young quarterback, but it's also not going to be the worst. You have some weapons there in Cortland Sutton. Javonte Williams, he's a good running back. The offensive line is, it could be a lot better, it could be a lot worse. And the defense is what it is. And Sean Payton is hopefully going to get the most out of the most experienced college quarterback ever in Bo Nix. So it's an overdraft, but it's a move that the Broncos simply have to make. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals. After trading back with the Raiders, they select cornerback out of Alabama, Terron Arnold. They need some defensive help. At this point, you could also look at what's going to be available for wide receivers. There's no one there that I really like at that point in value. And I think they just look at this and go, who is the best player on the board? That is Arnold. He's a shutdown corner, and they are very happy getting that keystone guy to help out their defense. I know Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, former defensive-minded guy, so he's going to want that. Moving on with the Saints at pick number 14, I have them selecting Troy Fautanu, tackle out of Washington. He's a guy that could potentially go ahead of Olu Fashanu. They're kind of going to be compared to a lot this year, and the Saints, they can get better on their offensive line, and I think adding more protection for Poopy Pants Derek Carr, and if you don't understand why we call him that, watch him any single time there's a clear rusher coming after him. He looks like he's running with poop in his pants. And Fatanu, he helps out massively with that. The Indianapolis Colts at pick number 15, Quinton Mitchell, the corner out of Toledo. Again, I kind of looked at this team for the Colts and said if there was a wide receiver that I liked a little bit more at this spot, I could see them going there. I could see them also going edge rusher, but adding some defensive help onto that team and getting a true kind of... I feel like with Mitchell, he's kind of climbing up draft boards like what we saw with Devin Witherspoon last year. He's kind of that same mold and same build. and he's going to be really good for the Colts to get and try to help solidify that back end. The Seattle Seahawks at pick number 16, they stay fairly close in region and select offensive tackle out of Oregon State, Talisu Fuaga. They need to help whatever quarterback they're going to have. I know this is a spot where we might see Michael Penix go, but I feel like they're going to go, we have a guy that we're paying a bunch of money to. Let's just get him some offensive line protection up front. At pick number 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Nate Wiggins, corner out of Clemson. They need help on that back end. Ever since getting rid of Jalen Ramsey, it has just been a rotating door of guys coming in. They need to try to find someone who's going to be a little bit more of a solidifier in that back end, and Nate Wiggins comes in and does that. Feel free to jump in at any point, and if you have thoughts.
Yep.
At pick number 18, the Cincinnati Bengals select D-tackle out of Illinois, Johnny Newton. Johnny Newton is an Aaron Donald regen almost. I know in a lot of sports video games when you see like superstar level guys retire, often you'll see a regen. This kind of feels like that. You know, he's a little bit of a smaller build, but stellar guy rushing the passer, really good, which is really frustrating for the LA Rams because they were hoping to take him to immediately replace Aaron Donald, but they are pretty happy with the D tackle they select. They select Brian Murphy II out of Texas, a little bit bigger, but he is a premier pass rusher from the inside. Gonna be a little bit better at the run stuffing ability as opposed to what Newton is, but they are more than happy replacing Aaron Donald with Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy II. Now at pick number 20, your Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them selecting tackle out of Alabama, J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham, there's been some talk that he could potentially even be in that conversation with Fashanu and Fatanu as that kind of second, maybe third tackle. I think he's in that conversation, and with all the conversations that you and I have had, getting a guy that can come in, and I think this gets you really flexible about what you can do with Broderick Jones. You can keep him at left tackle and move Latham there, and I think that's probably what the Steelers would likely do in this scenario, but that just kind of solidifies their offensive line.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Latham is more of a natural right tackle, whereas Broderick is more that left. So being able to move Broderick Jones back to that left tackle position would be very beneficial to have. So yeah, I definitely agree with that pick.
Yeah, and the Miami Dolphins, looking at this going, thank you Pittsburgh for not taking the guy that I have them selecting. They select center out of Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson. This was kind of one of the things for the Steelers that I was looking at going, is it center or is it tackle? And I felt tackle for them is probably a little bit more of the pressing issue because there are centers that they are going to be able to find in the second round. The kid from Georgia, the kid from Western Virginia. So that's why I went down that particular route.
And talent level, I would say Latham is a step above Jackson Powers Johnson, in my opinion. You know, that's a... You know, you're grabbing a really high-quality tackle instead of a serviceable center.
I think they're both the exact same level of talent. When I watch both of them play, obviously the center does a much different job than what the tackle does. But I think if you were to have them on a draft board, this is me talking, I think they're even. I just think tackle just happens to be the more important position out of the two, so that's why the Steelers went down that particular route. They need both, so they went with two guys that are pretty much equal, and they went, what's the more premium position, and that being tackle. Granted, Latham, he's going to play right tackle in the NFL, but as we've discussed, left tackle or right tackle is just as important as left tackle in today's modern NFL. At pick number 22, the Philadelphia Eagles select safety/corner out of Iowa, Cooper DeJean. They look to try to build up that back end, and after losing Kevin Byard to free agency, they go, we're going to take this talented kid, Cooper DeJean, who can play both outside corner and safety, just an all-around phenomenal player for them. The New England Patriots, after also acquiring pick number 23 from the Minnesota Vikings, they select edge rusher Jared Verse. They get their superstar weapon on offense at pick number 11, and now they get their top end defensive player this year in Jared Verse. Jared Verse, he's my favorite edge rusher in this class just because of his size. He's going to go into that Patriots defense and wreak havoc. He's going to have fun out there. Dallas Cowboys pick number 24, Armanius Mims, tackle out of Georgia. Again, they need to just kind of help out any way they possibly can on that offensive line. And this is one of those moves that they typically do whenever they lose a keystone player in free agency, whether it's due to age or just money conversations. They typically go out there in the first round and replace that player with that same position. I feel they're going to continue down that road. At pick number 25, the Green Bay Packers select corner out of Alabama, Kool-Aid McKinstry. They're seeing exactly what's happening in the division. Caleb Williams is there with his 3 superstar weapons. You have the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, the Lions. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who we both had as a guy that's a fringe top 5. They look at this and go, we could go offensive line. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of offensive linemen who have gone off the board in front of us. So we're going to try to slow down some of the other offenses that are in our division, and we're desperately going to need it. 26, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select edge rusher Liatu Latu. This is a team where they're kind of going off of best player available. And, defense is something that they're definitely going to have to start to try to rebuild a little bit more. And Liatu Latu, he's had those injuries history, but he's been clear and good bill of health for the last 2 years. So, and he's one of the most fun edge rushers in this entire class to watch. I think if he didn't have those medical issues in his past, he would be the number 1 edge rusher in this class. And I think Tampa Bay is more than happy selecting Latu with pick number 26. At pick number 27, the Arizona Cardinals, and this is the pick that they received in last year's trade with the Houston Texans, they select wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. They, again, losing out on Marvin Harrison Jr. is a big, big time loss. But the big thing here is you are still getting a quality guy, 6'3", 200, and I think he's 20 pounds, runs in the 4.3, has some pretty good hands. That's a guy that you can give to Kyler Murray and feel really confident about. And I would love to watch the battle between Arnold and Thomas during training camp, because those are just going to be some fun battles. Obviously, both SEC guys, they played against each other in college, so having those two guys there would be fun. Mind you, I did this mock draft. Pardon me, as I have a quick cough there. I did this mock draft before all the trades happened. So I had the Buffalo Bills selecting Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas, because I said losing Gabe Davis is big for that team. And I said, you know what? Stephon Diggs isn't going to be there forever, so you are going to need to have a guy that comes in and be that guy. The Bills, they are going to run to the podium if any of these next wide receivers are still on the board. At pick number 29, I have the Detroit Lions selecting edge rusher out of Penn State, Chop Robinson. They can go after a corner here. I think the fact that Kool-Aid McKinstry is off the board, Nate Wiggins also gone, they kind of sit back and go, you know what? Let's make our edge rushers extremely difficult. They're going to say, okay, we see everyone loading up on weapons. How does your offensive line hold up? Green Bay, you went after a corner. Let's see how you pair with Chop Robinson and Aiden Hutchinson coming both sides. Chicago, same thing. Minnesota, you better make sure those offensive linemen are good. Mm-hmm. Pick number 30, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting wide receiver Xavier Worthy. They tried to strike gold with Hollywood Brown a few years ago with that elite speed. This time they get a little bit more production out of Xavier Worthy, who just broke the 40-yard dash record at the Combine. The 49ers at pick 31, I have them selecting Graham Barton, guard out of Duke. He is without a doubt one of the most athletic offensive linemen in the entire class. He can play guard, he can play tackle. I would be willing to bet he could probably play center. And with a lot of the 49ers positions kind of filled up here at the moment, setting up that offensive line for the future with a versatile guy like Barton is a massive, massive plus for them. And then finally, at pick number 32, the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs select Keenan Coleman, wide receiver out of Florida State. They're sitting back going like, we don't care which wide receiver falls to us. We're going to be happy to select it, and good things are going to happen. And Keenan Coleman going to the Chiefs should worry a lot of people, because he could have a Puka Nacua-like performance in his rookie year. His hands are just so smooth. When you see him running, he trusts his hands, so he can go full speed, catch the ball, and he is big, man. 6'4", and he can also... He didn't run in the 4.3s. He's more of a 4.5, 4.6 type of guy. But what he does when the ball is thrown his way, he catches it. He had a catch against Syracuse this year. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch. You just type in on YouTube Keenan Coleman catch against Syracuse 2023. You're gonna sit back and go, "Oh no, that's who Mahomes is throwing the ball to." On top of adding Hollywood Brown into that offense, that is going to be very, very terrifying for a lot of years. So that is Mock Draft 2.0 by myself. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of wide receivers, a lot of cornerbacks. You know, it's the way the league is going. It's pass heavy. You know, a lot of passing yards, a lot of points. So it's going to be interesting and fun to watch what some of these teams do.
Yeah, and a lot of the wide receivers in this class, I know it feels like we're saying it every year, where it's just like, this wide receiver class is just historic, but this is just a different level of class, because even you look at the guys in the second round, Xavier Legette from South Carolina, he is going to be such a phenomenal player. He could be a first round guy. I genuinely believe you could see 8 receivers go in the first round this year.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
And so I'm sitting back going like, there's teams like, for instance, the Packers. They've drafted a lot of receivers over these last couple of years. They could simply just say, let's draft a wide receiver. The Lions could do it as well, say, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's get him another guy. I know we drafted Jameson Williams a few years ago, but he is another one of those guys that could be just adding more and more and more. It's an interesting class, man.
Yeah. No, it's going to be so interesting to watch. And I was glad to see what you did with my Steelers as well. I know I've been talking a lot lately about Jackson Powers-Johnson, but in the last week or so, I've seen a lot of reports coming out of Pittsburgh that they're not as concerned about that center position as a lot of the fans seem to be. They've even talked that if they don't get a center in this year's draft, they are fairly comfortable and confident in moving Nate Herbig from the guard position to that center, and they think he's going to be able to do a good job. And so, yeah, Lathan, even if he's off the board, where Mims went, Mims was another one they were talking about possibly bringing in, because with how well Broderick Jones did do at that right tackle position, if they have an opportunity to take another premier left tackle, they very well may do that and keep Broderick Jones over at that right-hand side, because he was really good at opening up holes for Najee Harris and Jalen Moore.
And one of the things that you and I that we did even mention in this is that right tackle is just as important as left tackle, because it was always the fear of, we need to have a left tackle to protect the blind side. Well, protecting the blind side is good, but you also need to protect right here, and having an edge rusher coming right in your face. If there's a guy not blocking him, it doesn't matter if he hits you from behind or hits you in the front. It's still bad either way.
And not only that, but with the player safety initiative, we don't see as many brutal blindside tackles anymore, because a lot of those edge rushers know if you rock the quarterback from the blind side that hard, even if it appears to be a clean, safe tackle, you're likely going to get a 15-yard penalty flag and a fine at the end of the game.
Yeah,
and so
most
a lot of times we don't see guys going full steam from that blind side anymore. You'll still get the sacks, but they're
more
you
of
don't
like,
have to
I'm gonna
worry about your
grab you
quarterback
and then
dying.
just roll. Yeah,
Exactly.
a
Your
lot
quarterback's
of
not gonna
those.
die from those hits anymore.
A lot of those blindside sacks are more, instead of just going and basically crunching the spine with your shoulder, it's going to be, I'm going to grab you by the back and then roll you down. Kind of almost like a wrestling type of move. That's what you see more of the blindside. Or it's going to be the strip sack, which is going to be you're just smacking the ball out of his hands and the ball's on the ground and that type of stuff. But yeah, like if you have Broderick Jones as your right tackle, oh no, you have a stellar right tackle.
Exactly.
And if you have another guy on the opposite side, you're like, yeah. And like this is kind of why I feel comfortable with the Bears not having to take a tackle, because you look at Darnell Wright, I think he's a Pro Bowler. And then on the opposite side you have Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones is he's a starting caliber left tackle in the NFL. Is he a top 10 guy? No. Is he a top 20 guy? Without a doubt. Is he somewhere in that middle, around that top 15? I would say so. And like that's kind of what you need in the NFL if you have a consistent all-around good offensive line.
Yep.
So yeah, I know I don't necessarily have anything else here today. I know you gotta go quickly, run and do some stuff. So yeah, fairly good one. A lot of draft heavy talk, and obviously the next few weeks.
Makes sense. With it coming up pretty soon here, yeah. And I mean, if anybody out there disagrees with any of the picks that Brendon, made here, feel free to leave your comment and let us know who you think your team would have taken instead.